próximos minutos la mirada en cómo las grandes tecnológicas amenazan la humanidad. Y precisamente vamos a hablar con la autora de este libro, Los Nueve Gigantes, es Amy Webb, y la tenemos a continuación con nosotros. Amy, thank you for having us a few minutes in Negocios Televisión.
Of course, thank you so much.
Amy, in your book you talk about the nine tech giants. We talk every day about them, Alibaba, IBM, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Tencent, Apple, Baidu. How would you say power is shared among them, and in what ways are we increasingly talking about Chinese companies rather than US companies?
There's been a tremendous amount of consolidation in the AI community and the tech community. Some of that has been in the United States, but increasingly it's happening in China. And that's especially been true since COVID. COVID's been very good to the big tech giants in China. So Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. They're growing incredibly fast. They are joining together with other tech companies. And they're doing a tremendous amount of really innovative work.
Ways are big tech threatening the future of humanity? In which areas? Tell us more about the influence of artificial intelligence in today's society. Is a technology that we talk about it every day, but we don't know exactly how it can manage all these developments in tech companies.
So artificial intelligence is part of everyday life. It is in our computers. It's part of our banking systems. It is the new age of computing. But some emerging developments that are incredibly important relate to the vaccines that are available. We got to quick vaccines for COVID, at least the solution for the vaccine because of artificial intelligence. Unfortunately, artificial intelligence has not been used as well as it probably could have been throughout the supply chain. So there's been some slow production and procurement, and certainly governments made bad decisions in terms of ordering those supplies. But artificial intelligence, increasingly helps make decisions about us. So it's in social media. It is part of our email systems. It is what's enabling this interview to happen right now. It is everywhere. And the question we should be asking is, who made the decisions that went into creating these algorithms and the data that were used to train them on?
Who makes these decisions?
Well, it's the people who work inside of these companies for the most part. There are academics who are affiliated oftentimes with the companies, but you have to follow the money. And the majority of the money is not coming, from most of our governments. It's coming from the companies and the economies themselves. Now, it's a little different in China. China heavily subsidizes R&D and products, and it invests pretty heavily in making sure that these companies, that the Chinese companies, are competitive globally.
The key, follow the money. And Amy, you in your book, you say there is a paradox because these companies at the same time make proposals to face the great challenges of today, climate change, health or poverty, but at the same time they respond to their economic interests, follow the money. You said that.
Right. We have a problem. We have a tension between what the market wants, what's good for everyday people, and what our governments want. And unfortunately, that tension is not getting resolved. We've incentivized companies in the West to make profit, make as much profit as they can, and not really to think about the longer term consequences for everyday people like you and me. Governments are the ones who set regulations and incentives. And for the most part, in Western nations, throughout South America, Latin America, governments haven't been paying close enough attention to artificial intelligence, not until very recently. And so we have this tension because now government is paying attention and the market expects high returns on investment. And, in China, we have a very strong autocratic leader in Xi Jinping, who has decided to go in a totally different direction to try to build China up as the singular global hegemon when it comes to AI, as well as other technologies. And he's doing a pretty good job of it.
The government in China, for example, is really heavy. In the case of China, these companies are often controlled or at least closely monitored by the government. What new situations might this create? Another added problem, the control and management of data and transparency?
Well, we're starting to see problems already. There are a number of global companies that have operations in China and do some of their manufacturing in China that are running into problems with the government because of data sharing and because of their stance on human rights. This is going to become a problem for everybody going forward because in most cases, all of our supply chains are linked to China in some way or another. So China has set up a situation where it's forcing other countries to play by their rules, even if those countries don't share the same beliefs about human rights and security and privacy and surveillance.
What future scenarios do you see and which solutions? What can we do really?
So I think the biggest thing that everybody can do is to try to learn a little bit more about what artificial intelligence is so that you can start making smarter decisions. A lot of people use, for example, Facebook, and they post a lot of photos to Facebook without really understanding how that information might be used at some point. And they vote for politicians without taking into consideration what those politicians believe when it comes to technology. We have to just start making smarter decisions as consumers. And some of those decisions, might cause us to have to sacrifice something in the short term. We might have to sacrifice convenience, or we might have to break our digital addiction. But at the rate that we're all going right now, I'm just very, very concerned about the future.
Amy, Forbes magazine included you in its list of the 5 women who are changing the world. We are curious, in which projects are you working on?
Well, right now I'm working on several projects. I've got a new book coming out in February about the future of synthetic biology, which covers CRISPR and messenger RNA. But basically, it's a book about how artificial intelligence and biology and engineering are coming together to allow us to redesign life for the future. It has profound implications on where we will get our food, what we do about climate change, things like that. And it's a passionate area for me. I'm really hoping that people pay closer attention because there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also tremendous risk. We don't want somebody designing a brand new virus and releasing it to the wild, for example. So I'm working on that. I'm working on a couple of projects with different governments to try to get them to do a better job of thinking about the longer term future. And of course, all of the work that we do at the Future Today Institute, we're working with banks and global media companies and multinational retailers to help them think about the farther future.
Really interesting. We will catch up with you with everything you do in the future. Amy Webb, thank you so much for having us these few minutes in Negocios Televisión today. The Nine Giants, Los Nueve Gigantes, es el libro en español. Thank you.